This is WilliamKHolland. This is one of the most talented, sweetest guys. He tried literally for 90 minutes last night to get on the show, and for whatever reason, it just did not work. But tonight we're going to do it. And he asked a great question before we got there, and we're going to start there, which is what happened to Splinter in Ninja Turtles Last Ronin.
Last Ronin, right.
Yes. So this is the book we're going to be homaging tonight. Mm-hmm. I drew some stuff last night from The Last Ronin, and tonight I'm going to continue down this wonderful path because, you know, as a result of what happened last night, I wanted to be sure that this time we actually got William here. So anyway, Ninja Turtles number 100 came out probably, I want to say, about a year ago, 2 years ago.
At the end of the City at War stuff, right?
Yeah. So at the end of that, so number 50 was interesting. I go back there first.
I think I started a little bit after. I think I started because I have the trades basically with the whole Jenica stuff where she got turned into a turtle and then up through 100.
Okay, so 100.
Those two trades. So I probably need to go and get.
No, 100 is actually the one because it's so 100. Hold on a second here. Give me a second. Oh, there it is. I got you. I'm just doing the last setup here, which is just really right. Boom. So now I won't sound like a mumbling idiot for the rest of the episode. But so I can comment on Facebook and or Twitch depending on who comments where and how. I'm able to be commented and we can interact with all of us. But so in issue 50, Splinter and Shredder had their final battle, and so we're going to be spoiling Ninja Turtles IDW tonight. If you guys, it's a great book, great series. You guys should definitely watch it or read it if you haven't. But what makes the book so amazing is one of the cool things is the dynamic between Splinter and Shredder, and with So in 50, Splinter kills Shredder, decapitates him, and takes over the Foot Clan. And the second 50 issues were really interesting because one of the sub stories about it was Splinter's descent and fall away from the Turtles as the leadership of the Foot Clan forced him to become a different person. It was a really, really fascinating look into Splinter's psyche. So when you get to the City of War, you get to that part. You get to the point where Splinter has lost everything. He doesn't lose control of the Foot Clan exactly, but there comes a point where he hits rock bottom. And so the Dragon God that's been hinted at pretty much since the Rat King was introduced and his brethren were introduced, Kitsune the Fox were introduced, comes to fruition at number 100. But in order to fight, but Shredder was the catalyst to this in a weird way. So in order to defeat it, Splinter and Shredder had to switch places, which I thought was a really interesting. So Shredder comes back to life, but in so doing, Splinter dies, and that leads to a lot of the current run. I really love what Sophie Campbell's done with Ninja Turtles. It's been an incredible. It's a quieter title right now than it was when Tom Waltz was writing it, but it's still really good. And it's focusing on the Turtles post-Splinter. And the first 6 issues of her run, was that whole post-Splinter arc. So his death was kind of interesting because it was the right path for the character. And it tied in, and honestly, he got a great ending. I really, really, I loved his ending. I honestly hope to never bring him back in the IDW comic because they told such a beautiful story with him that I don't want that wrecked. I like the idea that Shredder's got a chance at redemption. And he's not the same guy he was before he died. He's something different and possibly better. Or he might fall from grace again, which is, again, you can tell that story too if that's what you want to do.
Right.
But Splinter's story's done. I don't feel like in Splinter's case that you need to tell another story with him, at least in the IDW run. Right? I feel like they passed that, and so when you get The Last Ronin, Splinter was the easier one to accept. But and honestly, I can see it with because the Turtles' biggest strength is their family, like their whole like the family dynamic between the four brothers, and I think I couldn't imagine a more devastating fate for the Turtles than having only one of them left. I feel like they go together or not at all, and that's why Last Ronin is such an interesting story, because there's only one left, and it's Michelangelo, and it's not Leo, it's not Raph, it's not Donatello, it's Michelangelo, which is like okay. I love that. I love it. So that's why I particularly dig the concept of the character, and I can see why. I can see why they chose to go with Donatello, not anybody else. I see the reasoning behind it, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, and the thing about that that's interesting too is, for so long, I mean, because really the Turtles, and again, I'm in the process of trying to get my hands on the original, like Eastman and Laird, not necessarily the original, but the original few books in the black and white arc. Because from what I understand, a lot of their character didn't really come into play until the Archie comics came out.
Uh-huh.
And you said the Archie, you had the animation where they basically, everybody has the different colors and everybody had their different, kind of personalities based a lot on their colors. Like, you had your, you had your Leonardo who was in a blue color scheme, who kind of signified him as a leader, even if the movie theme song told us that Raphael was.
So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be continuing to draw from the cover for Last Ronin #1. I'm going to try to get that better. What is William drawing tonight?
Well, I'm drawing our Last Ronin, but I also drew last night while I was trying to get things going. I actually did, let me see if I can do this and not. I actually did a picture of Monica Rambeau as well.
Want to move it over just a little bit more to your right, my friend. Keep going, keep going. That's perfect. So this is WilliamKHolland, ladies and gentlemen. He's one of the most talented dudes you'll ever actually see on this show. He's a great artist, got great imagination, as you can see, and does a phenomenal job. That's really cool, man.
And so, yeah, because I figured we could talk a little bit about Monica because of WandaVision and the interesting stuff that's going on in that show while I was drawing our turtle.
Yeah. So you're Modern Monica. I'm drawing The Last Ronin. So I've been meaning to ask you. So what do you, besides, we both are turtle fans. That goes with that saying. But besides turtles, what do you read right now?
What am I reading right now? That's a very good question, a very interesting question. So, lately, I've been reading a book called Excellence, which is done by Image Comics.
Okay.
It's basically, imagine if Harry Potter occurred in a more urban environment.
Yeah.
And primarily African Americans were the ones that had access to this witchcraft, but the reason they had access to it may be a lot more nefarious than they realize. There may be a lot of players behind the scenes that are kind of granting it to control it ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that. There's Bitterroot that I've been reading out of Image as well. I just recently got my hands on some of the future state stuff, like the Yara Flor, Wonder Woman, who's a Brazilian Wonder Woman, the new Batman, which is one of the Fox children, the next Batman. And so it's one of the Fox children. And so he's kind of taken over for the mantle of Batman while Bruce is thought to be dead. And so it's real interesting because he intentionally doesn't play it like he's Batman, like he does things a lot differently. Like most of his family is still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So it creates an interesting dichotomy as far as that family dynamic, because at one point, he's like, in this new thing that they're doing, the future state, it's this concept, of course, of, you've got different things going on in this alternate reality that's happening. Is like, for example, his mother's a lawyer. She's trying to stop these masks from running around because these mask vigilantes, somebody that had a mask on apparently injured his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, she's in a coma.
Okay.
Of course, the mom is this legal representative, and she's trying to basically stop these masks from running around anywhere, not realizing, of course, that her son is Batman.
Nice.
And so it's a lot of interesting drama as far as that goes. That's a lot of what I've been reading. I mean, of course, you mentioned Sophie Campbell, Turtle Run. I do personally enjoy Sophie Campbell.
Yeah.
As far as her artwork and things like that, I loved her ever since back in Wet Moon. And different things that she's done.
I haven't.
That was an independent thing she did several years ago, and so I thought it was really cool. And then as well, I've been getting a lot of trades lately, so I went back and found an inexpensive copy of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah.
And reread that because I was just like, that was back in that wheelhouse of time where I was really getting into comic books as a young person.
Yeah. Okay.
And cool. So some of it's more of me trying to find the stuff that I enjoyed growing up.
Which is nothing wrong with that, man. I mean, if you're not enjoying what you're reading, you shouldn't be reading it.
That's true. I've been trying to get my hands on a lot of milestone stuff from the 90s because according to the DC fandom last year, it's supposed to be coming back in at least some new print format as well as possible movies. I mean, we said that Michael B. Jordan has been tapped to help bring us the Static Shock movie. So,
which is pretty darn cool, actually.
That'll be interesting if and when they pull that off, because it's not that I don't trust the situation, but especially with what's been going on over the last year. There have been a lot of movies that have been put on the shelves that all of a sudden are just not there anymore.
Yeah, I know. I get you. No, for me, so for comic books, I'm a Green Lantern guy. I am a Green Lantern guy, and so I'm enjoying. So Far Sector for me is probably my favorite book month in and month out right now, because I think N.K. Jemisin's a brilliant storyteller, and every month I read her stuff. I really, really enjoy the things she comes up with. Right, so I'm enjoying Far Sector, and I like that take on Green Lantern. It's kind of like, to me, it reminds me an awful lot of Green Lantern Mosaic. And I say that as a giant compliment because I think it's an incredible book, right? I think from obviously the turtle stuff, which I think should probably goes without saying to anybody listening or watching this right now,
right?
Right. It's just, to me, I'm enjoying the turtle. I'm enjoying the turtles' interactions, and I'm enjoying the ability of I've liked Sophie's run on Turtles quite a bit, and I'm enjoying Last Ronin obviously because it's Last freaking Ronin and it's freaking cool. Homesick Pilots. It's a horror ghost thing from Image, which I'm actually.
I've heard of it. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I've heard nothing good things about it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a good read. It's a fun read. I don't think Image is in a really interesting spot in that they still solidly do some amazing books. I feel the love for Image has died a little bit because of, not because I think Image is in a terrible place, but rather because they haven't had that big book in a long time. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, you had Invincible back in the early 2000s. And then you had, of course, Walking Dead that just blew up huge. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, you had Spawn, which, I mean, last year celebrated over 300 issues getting done. And so, I mean, yeah, I see what you mean by not having that one big book to really come out and, like, really pop their deals. But the thing is, they have some really good, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, who's doing the Something's Killing the Children? Is that Image or Boom?
That's Boom.
Okay.
That's Boom. Like Boom is the one that's doing all that stuff right now, and which is impressive. Like Boom is doing a phenomenal job with what they're doing, I think.
Speaking of Boom, did you hear numbers on Berserker 1?
No, I have not.
600,000 copies in comic stores.
That's fantastic.
600,000 copies, which hasn't been done since 2015 with the Star Wars book Marvel did.
Yes.
So
that's amazing.
They're definitely doing some things.
Yeah, no, that's amazing actually. Kudos to Keanu Reeves and kudos to Boom. That's great for them. So I'm reading Red Atlantis. From Boone. I'm reading a book called Origins, which I'm actually is a lot of fun actually. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy their take on artificial intelligence and human life. That's interesting. So I'm a big fan of Stephanie Phillips, and she's doing the new Harley Quinn for DC. But I love her indie stuff a lot, and I've been enjoying her Aftershock comic stuff, and she's secretly a thriller writer. I can tell she's secretly a thriller writer, and or maybe not so secretly a thriller writer. I'm sure she'd be like, nope, that's accurate. It's like, cool. Right. That's the impression.
That's the impression that you get.
Yeah, she does horror, and there's nothing wrong with, like, she does a really good job of it. And man, I made Raphael's sigh really dinky. It shouldn't be a dinky. Raphael should not have a dinky sigh. She should have at least a decent sized sigh.
By the way, you mentioned the turtle stuff. Did you get a chance to check out the Jenica stuff?
What?
Jenica book?
Yeah, the Jenica? Yeah. No, I'm not really sure about where I sit with that one yet, to be perfectly honest with you. Because I feel like it's a fun book. It's fun. But the story beats aren't quite strong enough, I think, compared to some of the other stuff I'm reading right now. Like, I feel like Jenica is a fun action book, and it's a great action book. But I again, just based on what I've been reading, I don't know it has the same depth of story some of the other stuff I've been reading it does. It's not a bad book. It's just I think for me it's more along the lines of I'm at a point with it where maybe I need to be a little less of a snob. Who knows? That could be it too. But I mean, I've been getting to read some of the independent stuff out there. Like I got to read Peerless. I like that book a lot. It's a fun kung fu story.
I got the first one of that one, and I loved it. And I had the honor of being able to interview Mr. Morton.
Yes.
Lauren on my podcast, and we talked about, and of course I'm a 70s baby, and so whenever you start talking to me about martial arts flicks, I'm already there.
So it's a fun book. I really enjoyed it. I got an advanced preview of the Incontesti by Rich Perota. The art is phenomenal. I can't wait for people to. So I made my last Ronin a little fat. I'm gonna show it to you anyway.
Okay. All right.
It's not bad.
I like the weapon placement. I'm really digging that. I'm loving the head. I'll show you what I got so far on mine.
Yeah.
I gotta kind of roll it over here. So
yeah.
That's where we're at on my version of it right now. I kind of imagine him more of, if you kind of remember the scene from the first book, where he's kind of battle worn, but like he's already ripped off all the stuff.
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of like what it would be like if it was not, he hadn't quite gotten everything off yet, but a lot of his stuff is torn. So you actually see the cuts and stuff on his actual body underneath it.
Yes.
So, because he has a lot of extra armor going on with the suit, which is interesting too, because that speaks volumes of the situation. Because
oh yeah, no, he like he doesn't expect to walk away from this. Like you can tell that this is his last stand. Whatever happens, yeah. Win, lose, or draw, this is it, boys and girls. This is it, right. You got that sense from him, and I understand it. I think there's a bit of the Dark Knight Returns in
well, yeah, and Eastman and Laird, when they got interviewed about this, that's what they said when they initially put this together. They said we need to tell our version of a Dark Knight Returns with the Turtles involved.
Yeah.
And I was sold right then. I'm like, Dark Knight Returns with the Turtles? Yes, please.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's cool. So now I got to think about what else I'm going to draw tonight. Because I've drawn The Last Ronin a bit. I did it quite a bit last night. So I got to decide what I'm going to do for the rest of the night.
Okay.
So, so I'm going to be getting some, when I get paid from this job, I'm going to be getting myself some actual like quills and inks and stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing Mortal Kombat characters.
Ooh, yeah, because that is coming up for Mog's deal that she does.
Yeah, but it's also just a way to push myself a little bit as well. Because the first time I drew boobs on was with Mortal Kombat Katana. By the way, MK2 Katana. It's really hard to find a good frontal shot of Katana in that because it's almost always side shots. It's like that is surprisingly hard to pull off. It's like surprisingly hard to pull off. Much easier to find. Other games from other games, Katana. But two, yikes, super hard. So I tried her, and I recognized something. I'm like, you know what? Pencils are great, but I almost feel like I need to get into inking a little bit so I can emphasize certain things really, really well better. Right. Penciling I can do lighten and darken for sure. There are some things I can definitely do. There's a Cabal that's really fun, or maybe not. That sucked. Can I get another one where I see Mr. Cabal? Also, Cabal just always seemed fun to me. He was always like a fun character to choose. I used to play when oh, there we go. I found a Cabal. Hey.
Cool.
Yeah, I found a Cabal. I'm gonna try it. I don't know if I can pull this off. I mean, it's one of those things. Like every time I do an image, it's like, I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can figure this out.
Well, I'll show you these guys here. They are, I believe they're called Sunbow brush pens, and they come in a 2-pack, and they're really good. They have a nice little brush nib on it, and so you can get as thin or as thick as you need to based on how you lay the pen out as you're drawing. So something to advise as you are on your pursuit of the inking materials and things.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be getting color and ink, like inks and then colors. I'm going to see if I can get to at least the color. I would like to get to, by the time I submit to Mog's piece, I'd love to get to the point where I'm at least the inking stage. I'd like to get to color by the time I get to next month for sure. Because I am going to be very soon starting to work on trying a comic book out.
Okay.
Because I always thought that, this is just my thing, right? I've always wanted to do comics, but one of the hardest things as a writer is getting paying an artist, because honestly artists are worth their weight in gold, right? They're worth their weight in gold, but I can't usually afford what they're worth, right? So I thought what I would do is learn, like, even if I'm just competent at it, I don't need to be great at it, just competent. So if I'm competent at it, I can tell a good story, right? And that's all I care about, is telling the best story I possibly can.
Right.
Right? Because that's why we do this stuff, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So here's a question. I know I'm your guest on your show, but I'm gonna ask a question here. So what kind of story would you want to tell in a comic book that you're doing?
You want to hear?
Is there a story in mind that you have already, or is
it just so happens I have a story I want to tell already. It's about a dragon that makes fun of his creator for drawing him.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I learned something very, very valuable about myself. I have no problem being a little self-deprecating, not in an unconfident way. What I've learned is also I'm interested with Cabal. This is something I'm just putting his drawing his mask. Really, really interesting to see that he kind of just has a giant beak. Like his facial thing is just a giant ass beak.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn as far as if you say favorite character from Mortal Kombat. I'm definitely torn between Raiden and Jax.
Oh, my favorite Mortal Kombat character is probably I'm a sucker for Scorpion. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a sucker for Scorpion.
Did you get the chance to see the Scorpion movie, The Scorpion's Revenge, that DC Animation did?
No, I did not. I did not.
Oh my gosh, you need to.
Okay,
it is beautifully destructive.
That is essentially what I expect from Scorpion. Beautiful and destructive.
A lot of it's a weird like Mortal Kombat cartoon reboot type of thing. And I know we're getting the movie, this year, and everything, but I feel like the animated feature, I feel like the way they did the animated feature, in all earnest, if they get the movie out, I feel like they should open the movie with the animated feature, like the old school movies back in the day, where you have a short before your main movie, and they could edit it in such a way where it's just a short about, say, Scorpion, since it was Scorpion's Revenge, and just do it that way. But yeah, it would be beautiful if they did that. But of course, they don't pay me that kind of money to figure that stuff out, so I don't worry about it too much.
Hey, man. No, I'm working on a bunch of different things, because one of the things that I've learned with the comic story I want to tell, and we'll go back to Mortal Kombat in just a sec here, is I enjoy playing with my audience. Like, I just enjoy having fun. And my firm belief is that when I tell a story, that if I make it fun, the audience will come with me.
Yeah.
Right? If I make it fun. Right? So that doesn't mean they always will come with me, but that's always been my approach. Ooh, his boob's farther up here. That's interesting. And he's got like a little line there, and okay, that's cool. Learning the art of Cabal here. All right, he is interesting because he like that, and like that, and that is how you do it. That is how you make his little. And then his little depth size here. I always like. The thing, cool thing about Cabal's too is his weapons. Like, his weapons are very, 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 very fun.
Definitely so. Here's another fun question. We were talking about Mortal Kombat and Cabal. When you played Mortal Kombat, did you have a specific character? I know you mentioned Scorpion. Did you play with Scorpion a lot when you played the game?
Yeah, I did. I played. I played Mortal Kombat. Now, I'm a Street Fighter guy at heart. Like, if I'm going to tell you, like, my fighting game of choice, it was always Street Fighter over Mortal Kombat. However, me, I didn't play Mortal Kombat. All my friends played Mortal Kombat, right? But that's an interesting. This guy is so interesting. As I learned something, I learned. Yeah, this is where inks and pens definitely would help with him. But that is for the future and not for today. Today is just getting shape basically down. But what I found with Mortal Kombat, I would find like 1 and 2. Now 2 is a very fun game. I will never. Anyone tells me that 2 is their all-time favorite Mortal Kombat game, I will not dispute that with them. I got to play MK3 when it was the busted version. So you were using either Sub-Zero or Cabal because you really had no choice. Because Sub-Zero had this infinite combo when you first started to play the game. They nerfed it really quick. Like, they realized that he was just a little too good with that combo. But the only one that could actually stand up to it was Cabal. So and unless you were the only character that could stand up to Cabal was Cyrax, who was also a very fun character. Right? So I found the Mortal Kombat out, to me anyway, was far less strategic than Street Fighter was. So and I'm not knocking anyone that loved Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat's a fun game.
Right.
So Street Fighter to me was the one where you had to. So I did lots of things wrong, but I learned some things too, which is always the important thing. I always find my first image is terrible when I do these things, but I'm learning an awful lot about what I'm doing and teaching myself the art of how to do it, and hopefully, getting people to invest in the story and in the game and my stream here. But no, I found like, as far as the game went, it was less strategic than Street Fighter. Street Fighter, everybody fought a little differently. Everybody did their thing, and it was better by and large that people did their thing than whereas Mortal Kombat, everybody had the same uppercut, same foot sweep, same just the same moves. So there's some interesting benefits to it, but I found that you just couldn't you couldn't do as many interesting things as a fighter. You just couldn't. So yeah, I got some work to do, but I learned some stuff. So that is the important thing. I'll show you, because I have no fear of looking foolish, because this is just fun for me. But my first attempt at trying to figure out Cabal.
Okay.
It's tough. He's tough, actually.
Yeah. The first thing to consider, this is just me kind of sharing with you. Think of the motion first. A lot of times, if you look at a lot of my drawings, it took me a long time to get here.
Yeah.
Where, like, if I was trying to draw something, hang on. There's a way I think there might be a way I can pull this off. So I'll show you this first. So there's my Mikey.
That's right.
Okay. So if we're gonna draw a Cabal, okay. Drawing backwards, so this may be weird. Like I got like a little blue pencil. So I say, okay, I want to draw. I'm trying to think of a pose I could do. Let's say, okay, we're in the martial arts. So we're talking about Mortal Kombat. Or, okay, arms crossed. Okay, so
arms crossed. That's Cabal. Cabal with the arm cross thing is definitely
okay.
Him.
So my first step would be to get my head placement. Okay, so I'd want to do is get my head placement. I'd want to have like his eyes kind of down. maybe kind of line it out like so.
Can't quite see. I think
Can't quite see it. Okay, hang on. I can do it differently.
Yeah.
Problem.
I'm sorry, man. I'm certain it's good.
Okay. So I want to do my head. Okay. And then when I do my head, where is it at? Okay, there we go. Okay, so get my eye line, come down the middle, create the head. Okay, so then what I want to do is I want to say, all right, so my fists are going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm crossing the arms, then what I'm going to want to do is create the wrist and then the arm. And let's say this arm's going to be out front.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to try to bring that down and do the same thing with the other side. The eye will probably draw through here. So that way I create that volume there and get that other arm. And then when I'm ready, I could just erase the middle if I need to. So then what I want to do there is go from here to my neckline, create the neck. And I'm not really working on details of the character yet. I'm just trying to get down a basic skeleton for what I want the character to be doing. So then I want to go back in and say, okay, I'm going to block out his shoulders, both sides. Now what I want to do is then bring the arms together to connect, because if we cross arms, you'll notice when you cross arms, of course, the bottom part of the arm is going to be here, the back side, and you're going to connect those to the shoulders. So then once you do that, you can bring your waist, like I would taper it kind of as I'm going down. Because again, with the body type, depending on who they are, of course, if they're bigger, if he's fatter or whatever, then I'm going to build him up based on how I want him to look. So then once I build him up, then of course I'm like, okay, so what does Cabal have? And I need to pull, let me see if I can pull a window separate out of here just a second. So if I say Google, I go Cabal, Mortal Kombat. There we go. So I'm going to get a picture of Cabal. Oh, nice. I like the mask. Okay, so I need to get a good image. I'm going to pull, that's the image I want right there based on the pose that I have. I need something to do his fist.
Yeah.
Okay, so bear with me. Oh, they've got a few alternate looks for them. So let's try to put something together. Kind of reminds me a bit of the Predator.
Yeah, no, he's got a little bit of that Predator. He's got a little bit of that Predator mask. So I'm not gonna lie. The reason I chose Cabal. So when I used to play the game, when I was Cabal, my favorite thing, even if I never won the fight, he has this ability where he can spin people like a tornado 360 because he runs by them so fast. I thoroughly enjoyed just doing that, even if I didn't win. It was just like, I don't care if I win. I'm spinning you like a top.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's important. Okay, so I need to get this down to where I can kind of see. I'm shrinking some stuff around, so bear with me just a second as I do that. And I need reference, because that's the thing about it too. Like, this is what you did. You're like, okay, I need reference. I'm going to pull up a reference picture. So now once I've got that there, and again, I'm just kind of off the dome with this. So now we're going to go, okay, so we see he's got the mask, so we're going to draw that centerpiece right here and bring it up, because we know it wants to cover the nose a bit, because we know it's kind of like if the nose was there.
His nose is like a beak.
And then we're gonna go, okay, his eyes are a bit more sunken in, so we're gonna create this ridge here, so that way we can create the ridge for the eyes. So once we do that, we want to then come in with the initial eyes, and if you'll notice, I'm gonna draw them slightly shorter than the main line, because again, we want to portray the fact they're sunken in behind the black. So when we do this, we're going to bring the underside up and connect it here. And if you'll notice, the underside I'm connecting is from where the mask begins to dip. So I'll bring the eyes up a bit. So now we're beginning to get that mask look for him.
Yeah.
So we will create the little deal here. We'll create the little deal here. And then that way we'll kind of go, okay, mask up. So we'll go up and around here to create the piping around the head. Do it that way. Kind of try to bring it up to where it's about even there. It's not always going to be even, but to kind of bring it up there. Okay, so now we know he's got the hair. But we've also got those really interesting ridges that he kind of has up near the tail here. So we'll bring this up here. We'll kind of triangulate this. And since we're coming from the center of the head, we're going to kind of go up this way to bring the other side. So looking at the mask doesn't quite give us a whole lot of. I see one version of the mask that you kind of can see the ear. So we're just gonna put this here just in case. We're gonna put a cap there, kind of sort of like, because some of the looks they have kind of a cap over the ears. Some of them it's like they've got ears showing. So what we want to do is we want to create the hair. Okay, so we know that our hairline's about here. He's a little bit more like he's not a Fabio type. He's not gonna be running around, doing hair commercials or anything like that anytime soon. He's not gonna be out here selling the new Head and Shoulder shampoo.
Actually, that would be amazing. You still sell you could sell hair gel though.
Like,
he sends people around. My hair doesn't move ever, right?
My hair stays here.
That's right. My hair stays exactly in place. Please buy this hairspray. Cabal hairspray. It works for me. It will withstand a tornado. I know.
You may be spun right round, but don't worry, your hair won't.
Yes.
So we kind of do the hair out here, and we want to kind of keep the flow going the same way there. So we'll kind of put that there. We'll kind of put a front on it. So that way this would be shadowed in here. That way it kind of pops it out there on the side. So, and then I'm looking at something here. Okay, yeah, I got a horrible hook there. So see, this is the thing about when you're doing artwork a lot of times. You're going to want to look at it from different angles because I'm drawing it from here, so I see it this way.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's an air. So now I can adjust. So then I can go, okay, so we're going to keep the arms there. We need to shorten up the snap there. And if I wanted to keep that pose where it's we kind of need to bring it out. So we're going to bring the arms out a little bit further to make it more even. So we just line it up. And then what we'll do is we'll bring the body over just a little bit. Body lines up better. And so now it looks a little bit more like he's standing in a proper position.
Mm-hmm.
So then basically what we do is we just start fleshing out the rest of the body.
Yes.
To where we go through adding the blades, and all that different stuff. And then eventually you would have as a completed version of the character. But you always want to think of what's under before you go over what your final product is, because a lot of times people will try to draw thinking final product.
No,
the skeleton first. You go in and build that thing from start to finish. I mean, sometimes I'll work on a piece and I'll just work on the head, and then I'll just work on the neck, and then I'll just work on I have to force myself to break stuff down to the components.
No, you know what? That's one thing I have I've grasped with this whole process. Basically, art, like illustration, is, for lack of a better term, is a giant Lego shaped pieces. Like everything is a big giant shape, like a bunch of smaller shapes compressed together to create larger ones.
Yep.
And what you have to learn how to do when you're doing this is seeing the smaller shapes as you go. Right? For me, I find it takes me 2 or 3 draws. Like last night when I was drawing April O'Neil, first one was not very good, but it wasn't really about being good. It was about just getting the base idea of the shape down. Then the second one was better. And then the third one was, I liked the third one. The third one was fun. And basically each time I did it, I got better. Like I understood the details more and more and more. And that's what this is about. It's about figuring out the details of what's important. Thumbnails, I got a ton of respect for thumbnails as a result of this. Like, because now I know why thumbnails are done and required, because let's be honest. Otherwise, it would not be that good. It would be very a lot of, sometimes it would be very painful because there is a lot of margin for error when you do anything, draw anything. And often it's not even a big mistake, it's small stuff. It's not big stuff at all. So it amazes me in one way how simple it is, but also how complex it is, because there's a lot of detail that goes into every piece of art. And and seeing that, again, it's amplified my respect for it a lot more doing it.
So sometimes when I'm wanting to do something, I'll sketch it out like a stick person.
Yep.
To try to get the idea of emotion. Like when you mentioned April O'Neil, I was like, okay, what's into April O'Neil's quintessential pose? Her quintessential pose is her standing there, hand on the hip, with a camera in the other hand.
Yep.
And so I go, okay, well, I want to put that down. So I get the gist of it just real quick. I mean, I try to not do more than maybe seconds, like 20, 30 seconds, just to get down the basics of the stick figure that I want to do. So then once I put that stick figure down, the next step is, okay, so now we build out from the stick. And you start making your adjustments from the stick as you go. So like, okay, so if I'm going to draw April O'Neil, okay, so I'm drawing a female, which depending on the size and shape of the female, you want to typically go with an hourglass, more of an hourglass shape, because a lot of times women tend to be a lot more curvier than us dudes.
Yes.
So we put those curves in with the shapes. And then also shape language is really important because case in point, what's the difference between Ursula and Ariel? If you look at Ariel.
What?
Huh?
Sorry, in terms of shape.
In terms of shapes.
Well, Ariel is very much hourglass, petite, tiny. The fact that she's also got like the fishtail the way she does when she's a Little Mermaid, but she looks like a very hourglass figure. Ursula's bigger, plumper, I think is the right word, I think, to describe her. Let's see how to put this. Like everything. If I were to draw Ursula would be just wide. Like the shape would be just wider. Symmetrics would be like, it should be one would be like a triangular hourglass. The other one would be almost more square. Like there would be almost more of a square shape and figure, I think, with Ursula over Ariel. Ariel is very much a classic hourglass character. So that's
you're on the verge. You're on the verge of it. You're actually a lot closer than you realize.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna break it down for it a little bit simpler. Ariel is primarily circles.
Yep.
Okay. Look at her face. It's a circular face.
Yeah, her face is very circular.
Circular body style. A lot of her features are rounded. They're very soft. So it makes you trust her as the hero of the story.
Interesting.
Even though, she has a lot of other characters around her. Ursula, she's plump and she's bigger. But notice a lot of her shapes in her design are triangular.
Yes.
So the idea of shape language is that shape language will psychologically convey what kind of person you're dealing with. So case in point, when you look at Bowel, there are a lot of triangles in his shape. There's a lot of triangles in his character design.
Absolutely.
Even though, like you got the one design where he's got the circular eyes, everything else in his character design is triangular. Down to the mask, the way the mask connects to the face, the way the hair is very pointed, different things like that. Even his body armor has a lot of triangles in it.
Yep.
Mixed with some squares, but mostly triangles.
Yeah.
So when you deal with that, the idea there, of course, is your shape language is going to play a lot into what your character looks like. So say, for example, like you're doing your stories with Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
When you look at the Disney version of Alice in Wonderland, the Queen, she was plump, but she had a lot of triangles in her actual character design. Most of the cards that were behind her as guards, triangular designs or rectangular in the card, but even like their little daggers were pointed triangles. Like there were so many triangles in their characters that it wasn't funny.
Oh wow! I'm learning something. Excellent.
And so the thing about design with characters is you want to convey what type of character you're dealing with as soon as possible, but you start from shapes and work your way out. Okay. So like April. So like, okay, so I got April here. I'm giving her a lot of those curves.
Yes.
You know, I mean, from that picture, I mean, with no background, I mean, you know, it kind of looks like you kind of feel like she may be falling, which is possible. She could be, you know, she could be in a situation. Of course, that's what the whole background in a drawing does. If you just see people floating in a, you know, in the middle of a picture, then you kind of create what they're doing. But if you give them a background, you know, like say she's got her arm the way it does because she's falling back as like Leonardo and I'm about to catch her.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Shredder is coming from the other side here. And Shredder's trying to slash at her and she just falls.
Yep.
Because underneath here, you see the turtles under there going, just fall down, April, we got you. You know, and so you're talking about elements of storytelling. Sometimes the storytelling is just in how the person's standing, the expression on their face.
Totally. Expression, I totally get that one because someone I've been kind of studying for the last little bit is Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
Dr. Seuss is the master of the expression, especially when you look, especially how simplified his drawings are.
Mm-hmm.
I figured out the secret to the Grinch's smile. Would you like to hear it?
Go ahead.
A squiggly line. I'm serious.
I love it. I thought about it that way, but yeah, makes sense.
Straight, like his thing, and then you just put like you draw it like a smile, but throughout it you jag it up with just little lines, and you have the Grinch's evil little smile. And it's such a simple little thing. Also, the Grinch is a cat. The Grinch is totally a cat, right? when you draw it, yeah, it's totally a cat with the squiggly like smile of death. No, guys, I'm not making fun of cats. I'm really not. I'm just simply pointing out like my art lessons. Like, oh my God, you're like a cat without the ears. Okay, I got you figured out. And here I go back here to one of my earlier drawings. Like that was my Grinch. Right, poor doggy. But like I said, I love that expressive style because the expressive style tells me like it showed me a couple different things. Like one of the things is you actually details are great, but honestly, it's the outlines more is the most important. People get the basic expressions like subconsciously really, really, really quickly. Yeah. It's the details. The details sometimes get in the way and sometimes enhance what you're doing. It really depends on the character and what you're working on and where you're going for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting when you say that thing about the detail too, because you think about somebody said like an artist like Mobius, for example.
Yes. Yes.
When you see a Mobius piece, you're not going to be able to engulf it all in that moment because it's not meant for you to do. Jeff Darrow is another good artist that's like that, where you're gonna have to look at it a bit. Like you're gonna have to go get the piece, or you're gonna have to go get the book and sit down and study it for a while before you understand what's happening. But whereas you have somebody say Alex Ross, for example, you know, I think the thing that I love more about anything about Alex Ross's work is he has this interesting ability to create volume.
Yeah.
To where it gives all of a sudden Superman now reminds me of an old school 50s TV character. And then you start looking at some of the things that he's done, some of the different ideas, and then you realize like he's based a lot of these people off of 50s and 60s and 70s sitcoms.
Yep. Yep, and it also tells a meta story on top of the story you may or may not have seen, which is always which is fascinating to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is just fascinating. But storytelling is my interest in illustration. Now, but I gotta say, a big confidence boost for me is selling my first pieces of art within this is my 3rd month of drawing, by the way. And I've already sold 2 pieces. That's a hell of a confidence boost, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it's a hell of a confidence boost, and something I never thought I'd see. Like, I never would have, if you had told me this time last year that this would be what I'd be doing, like this was the path I'd be on, never would have believed you. Goes to show you, life definitely takes you in interesting places sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, like this format, this type of show is always a little different. I'm a little less question heavy than I was the last time we talked, and we're just because we're talking because I feel like with illustrators in particular, you guys are more comfortable in silence. Like you the way you express yourselves isn't always. And I should ask this: writer or illustrator? What came first for you?
Definitely illustrating.
Yeah.
I grew up drawing. According to my mother, I was drawing as soon as I could hold a pencil.
So, I believe it. Watching your work, like, dude, I cannot emphasize enough just how talented you really are. Like, it amazes me what you're capable of. So, you do a lot of great things and a lot of great work, and I truly hope you keep going and doing what you're doing, because you make beautiful things, my friend. You really, really do. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, somebody said one time, you know, why draw? Why not do this? Why not do that? Why not do this? And I say, because I've always loved being able to put things on paper.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a comment here, a YouTube thing.
Ooh,
not sure what that is. It's a Twitch response.
It's Twitch. Somebody probably looks like a spam bot. Hey, it's okay. Hey, a comment's a comment. Yeah. So I'm not going to click on that.
Right. No, but I do have a YouTube channel myself.
So do I.
Is there a way to add a comment in here?
Go right ahead. Add your comment if you can.
Let's see. Private chat.
Not private chat. You want a main chat.
Okay.
If not, I'll put it up. Actually, or you can send it to me by private chat, and I'll put it up for you. It's not spam. It's not spam. Just a funny
video. So what is it? Because they're saying it's a funny video doesn't qualify it to me. Like, and of course, funny is a bit derivative depending on who you're talking to. So.
Well, funny can be anything. It could be. It's a guy falling off a chair.
Looks like the guy on the right. Looks like Michelangelo and Michelangelo falling off a chair. Okay, that's different.
Okay. Sure, I guess.
But I would. But I have. But we have the book. I mean.
Yeah. So I mean, it's cool, guys. But all right,
I appreciate humor in any kind. Believe me, I watch a lot. As a matter of fact, I rewatched Coming to America the other day just because of the trailer for Coming to America, which is the sequel.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's almost all the original cast is back.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For the movie. Cool. And so they're there. And I mean, you got James Olmos, the dad from Good Times in there back. You've got, the woman who plays the queen, whose name I can't think of right now. You've got Arsenio Hall, Eddie Murphy. Even the dude that's the announcer in the original movie is back. And it's funny because at one point the guy, there's the YouTube channel. But anyway, so there's this moment where he comes in and because the idea of it is that apparently Eddie had a son while he was in New York before he met the Queen.
Okay.
And so he goes back to New York to find the son to name him as the royal heir.
I just put your YouTube channel up. I have my own.
That's my YouTube channel. You're going to see Inktober challenges that I've done where I've drawn for 31 days in October for the last couple of years. And then other stuff, sometimes it's books, sometimes it's book stuff, sometimes it's just comic book stuff, sometimes it's favorite characters I want to draw that day.
Ah, that's cool.
Sometimes it's mashups. I did a mashup a while back between Martian Manhunter and Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh my god, that sounds awesome. That just sounds amazing, actually.
It's like imagine a world where Namekian can all of a sudden truly read your mind.
So you know what they have in common. It came to me right away. You know what with Martian Manhunter, and what they have in common is cookies. They have a deep love of cookies. That would be the story there. How they mash up. One of my favorite Martian Manhunter stories from the comic back in the day was they did a Justice League. They did a homage to the Justice League, right? And oh wow, I did that much better this time around. That's cool. I'll show you this when I get this. I made Cabal look. He still looks a little bit off, but I definitely did him better this time.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I am not. I'm having fun, and that's the most important part for me.
Right.
Because, actually, the truth is, I said this to Bill Maas when he came on here, and I'm going to say this to you. I am genuinely flattered that so many artists come on and agree to do this with me on a regular basis. It's flattering. I feel like honestly, I don't know what I did to encourage this.
You gave people an opportunity.
Yeah.
And people that love to draw, people that love to create things. I mean, that's somebody told me. I interviewed Dirk Manning again. He's getting ready to do a book called Butts and Seats, the Tony Schiavone story.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
It's one of the things he told me. He said, I never, when I set out to start a podcast, I never thought to myself, well, let me go and create this platform and do all this crazy stuff and everything. But he was just like, you talk to creative people and you give them an outlet. You give them a place where they can talk about being creative. Mm-hmm. That's a huge thing to do.
Absolutely.
Just giving the platform. So, look for the invitation. It'll probably be closer to this coming Friday, but you and I are going to sit down and talk for conversations about ...
Yeah, that's cool. No, I've been wanting to do this pretty much, return the favor, because you remind me, you were actually and I say it's like one of my best friends. You remind me of him a lot, and
okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to actually having that talk with you, because like I said, you're a cool dude. I really, like I said, I just appreciate you for everything you bring to the table. And one of these days in the mail, I will get your books, and when I do, I'll definitely give them a read, because I'm looking forward to them. Post office is just shitty, so
understand. It's ours is nothing to sneeze at either, my friend. We've been having issues with our post office since last March.
Yeah, I know.
It's just slowly gotten worse, and it's just now kind of starting to level out. I don't know if we're really better yet, but we're starting to level out to where there's not so much going through that the stuff that's getting shipped out ain't getting to people on time as much anymore.
Yeah, which is good. No, I got Mog's stuff literally last. Like, she sent her stuff out same time you did. Yeah. I got hers last week. Like, literally on Monday, I got it. So it was like, okay. And so I'm assuming yours will probably be coming in one of these weeks, and when it does, that'll be phenomenal and fantastic, because I'm looking forward to it and reading it.
Well, Mog's just a whole other level of artist, man. I mean, the fact that Miss Jen just happened to know who she was, and then she introduced me to her, and then we got to talking, and we became friends, and I got to become friends with Mel and other people. It's just a great little world of community. So you just never know
Oh yeah.
When you open yourself up to things, you just never know what's going to happen on the other side of it. And
Oh, absolutely. Right. No, Monk's like I told Monk I finally got your piece. It's like, oh, I thought you didn't like it. It's like, God, no. I mean, Jesus.
yeah, it's kind of hard not to like the things Mog does when Mog does stuff so well.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's really, it's like, oh my God, like no. I mean, I don't want to meet the person that dislikes Mog stuff. I really don't. I mean,
you know what? And if there's a person out there that doesn't, that's their prerogative. But we're probably not going to hear from them anyway because they're not going to go out of their way to put out there that they're not a fan of it to begin with. So
yeah, exactly.
it's like, okay, cool, like what you like. But,
yeah, well, absolutely. But there are some things that are like universal. Like for example, I personally don't believe it when people tell me they don't like ice cream. I just don't. I just something tells me deep down inside they're lying. Now I could be now maybe I'm being judgmental, maybe, but I've known lactose intolerant people to jump on ice cream. And they can't even eat the stuff and they're still going for it.
I love ice cream, so I understand. But at the same time, it's like, okay, let's break it down to the basic components. It's milk, sugar, and whatever flavorings in it, pretty much. And then you churn it and you cool it down until you make a cream out of it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I love shrimp. I can't eat it because I have an iodine overdose situation where if I eat shrimp, it's going to inject too much iodine in my system. So then I will get sick like less than 30 minutes from the time I eat the stuff. So I just don't mess with it. Doesn't mean I don't love the taste of it. It just means I would rather not eat it than deal with the repercussions if I did.
No, well, I'm sure there's some days you're just like, you know what, screw it, I'm cheating. Right?
No, when you violently burrow up a couple of times for me,
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
That's fair.
I don't need it in my life. Like I said, I love the taste of it, but I have found a lot of other things that I don't react that way to, which I can eat and enjoy. So I don't have to, go out of my way for shrimp. I mean, there's plenty of other fish in the sea, literally, that I can eat on and have fun with.
Yeah, and I'm not much of a fish guy. I'm just not. Although there are exceptions to that, but very generally speaking, I'm just not a fish guy. And but I can respect the fact that again, not everything in this life, contrary to whatever I may think sometimes, is made for me.
True.
Right? Not everything in this life everything in this life is made for you or everyone else. It's just it is what it is.
Well, you think about comic books. We were talking about comic books earlier. I mean, there are a lot of comic books out there. I'm just like, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then somebody will say, "Well, you didn't read this." I was like, "No, it didn't. It didn't strike me as something I wanted to read." Now this over here, I love it.
Listen, and that's it. I mean, we all got our little joys in this life, right? As well, which is important. Yeah, I did a much better job this time. That doesn't mean I got it right. I did a much better job. I'll show you in just a second here what I did.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But I did it better. It doesn't mean, like I said, it's not quite there, but I did it better. And I can handle. I don't worry about good anymore. I worry about getting better. I worry just about, doing the best I can. And I don't worry about much else because I find it doesn't have to be the best thing ever. It's nice when it is, but honestly, people get the message, especially if you're just doing the best. Like if you're doing the best you can, people get the message.
Well, and it's like taking a trip somewhere. If your goal is to get there, that's one thing. But while you're in the process of going there, don't miss out on the stuff that you have to go through the process to get there.
Oh yeah. Hopefully, I hope I'm that smart. Sometimes I'm not that smart. I've made that mistake in the past. I think we all do. especially when we start. Enjoying the process is super important. So anyway, now it's still a long way. It's still a long way away, but I know I did. This one's better.
I really like the mask focus there.
Yeah.
I love the mask focus. I like the weapons as well.
Like, it's better. I still got some work to do on it, but it's a lot better. Yeah. Yeah, right. It's definitely one of those things where I just looked at it and go, You can learn from the shapes. You can learn from doing things, and that's a very important thing. Because otherwise what happens is so that's the cabal and just doing different things like that. So if I had to pin you down because of all the stories you've told me, and we'll get to the point at somewhere in probably about another half hour or so we'll wrap this up, talk about your stories. But what was the story that made you want to create stories? Like, what was the story that made you go, holy shit, I can do this, or I want to do this?
The story that I saw, or the story that I wrote?
Story that you saw that made you do it. What inspired you to do it? And
it was actually a movie.
Okay, sure.
It was Aquila and the Bee.
Who? Sorry?
Aquila and the Bee.
Aquila and the Bee. Okay.
Lawrence Fishburne movie, a very young Kiki Shepard. Not Kiki Shepard. Oh, goodness gracious. Hold on. I gotta look up the actress. But anyway, while I'm talking about it, she basically is a little girl in an inner city neighborhood, very not accepted by a lot of different people. She kind of went through the struggle that I've heard about for decades, and I've heard personally the whole, wow, you sound white, or wow, you're trying to be white because you're trying to learn all these words for a little black girl, and oh, you sound so smart and so well spoken, and things like that. And I remember seeing that movie. Of course, I think Lawrence Fishburne was in it, and there were other people that were involved in this movie, but it was all involving a little girl and a spelling bee.
Okay.
And it's 2016 movie. Aquila, 11-year-old girl living in South Los Angeles, discovers she has a talent for spelling, and she hopes to take her to the National Spelling Bee. Despite her mother's objections, Aquila doesn't give up on her goal. She finds help in the form of a mysterious teacher, and along with overwhelming support from her community, Aquila might have what it takes to make her dream come true. And so Kiki Palmer is the main character, and then Angela Bassett plays her mother, and then Lawrence Fishburne plays the teacher that she has that inspires her. And so for me, I saw that movie, I cried. I ugly cried. It was hard. But what it made me realize is that the story was based off of an experience the author had, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And where she talked about being made fun of because she was a reader. She was an African-American girl who read. And so black kids would make fun of her because it's like, well, you're just trying to be like these people over here. And she's like, I'm just trying to be me. I love reading. Like there's no race to reading. It's just something she loved to do. And so she took the story about a little girl at a spelling bee, and she based it kind of out of her dealing with stuff as a youth. So I thought, what did I do? What did I deal with as a kid? Well, I dealt with bullying. I was a fat, early bully kid. The only time I was valuable to a lot of kids on the playground is when kickball was going, because they never kicked the ball really hard. And I could kick the ball over the fence. I didn't have to run that hard because I kicked the ball over the fence. It was a home run anyway. So that was where a lot of that came from until faith came into the picture for me. I really didn't understand how much God had allowed me to overcome, even in the midst of the stuff that was going on in my world. So I started asking myself the question, well, can I tell a story about being bullied that maybe can inspire another person like myself or another kid out there that's being bullied for whatever the reason, that they can survive, but more importantly, they can thrive. and just being themselves in spite of the bullying. Because it's not easy. And I'm never going to be the guy who says, oh, bullying is just natural. No, it isn't. It shouldn't happen. But if we live in a world where so many people say, well, it's just part of growing up, well, then how do we develop in the midst of that? Where you've got so many different mindsets of people saying, well, it's just natural for people to pick. It should never be natural. That should never be natural. Because what you're teaching your children is the whole idea of only the strongest survive. That works in the business world, but that shouldn't be something that happens on the playground.
It does and it doesn't work in the business world. The problem with it in the business world is, I mean, it's great on one hand. It does work in the business world because ultimately the business world is about efficiency in the marketplace. Which, honestly, when you sit there and think about that, to some degree, everybody should be aware of how that works. That doesn't mean that we have it all nailed down, but all of us on some level should be aware that that is a part of life, that is part of how it works. But even in a business environment, right, there is something to be said about being charitable, being ultimately beneficial to you sometimes. There's lots of businesses that don't, otherwise business wouldn't donate to charities at all, but they do, and there's a reason for that. Yeah, I mean, kids. I remember, I was bullied. I was a little bit bullied as a kid. I mean, I think we all go through that process. I think it's part of life, good, bad, or indifferent. It is what it is, right? I think there's always going to be, I think, on some level, a competition with life, but no one should ever feel like they can't do something, and no one should feel like they're incapable because somebody made them feel that way, right? I kind of feel like in your case, I'm sorry anyone made you feel that way, my friend, because honestly, you're probably one of the last people that should ever be made to feel that way, But it's unfortunately a big part of the world we live in.
And so basically part of my healing process really became trying to write stories, whether it be, for example, dealing with bullying, or whether it's dealing with media, police violence and things like that, or whether it's dealing with just being grateful.
Yeah.
I did a book called Captain Fluffy Pants Tries to Take Over the World because an alien came to the planet that wanted ice cream, even though he had never had it. But he wasn't grateful for what he had already. He just came to try to take something else. And so it was the idea of just, you got to be grateful for what you have, because you never know when you don't have access to that thing.
Oh, everything has a finite lifetime, like a lifetime, like everything. Like there is nothing in this life that's meant to last forever. It just doesn't work that way. Like I know this based on the fact that I've moved around so much. I'm probably not done moving. I got a lot of travel, I think, left in me, regardless of how things work out in the next little while. It's just my nature, and I've always known that I was always going to have to wander and see and kind of see where things are going to take me. But traveling as much as I have, one of the things I've learned is life is like everything you do. Okay, for example, this is our second conversation. Now, we're going to have at least one more, right?
Yep.
We're going to have at least one more.
Yep.
Right? Hopefully we'll have many more. But there's always that risk, and there's always that chance that we aren't going to have another conversation. And that's just life. Like life, tomorrow, one of us may not wake up. Life's a risk. Life's an inevitable risk. Everything changes every day. Tomorrow, William, you might get a call from Walt Disney saying, William, we want you to draw a movie for us. It could happen, right? In which case, William will give me a phone and tell me, Josh, I love you, but this is my dream come true. This was a dream come true. I got to do it. And I'll say, God bless you, buddy. Kick some ass. Maybe tomorrow I get a phone call saying, hey, listen, do you ever want to interview Oprah on your podcast? That's the shot. In which case I'd say, buddy,
And I will understand.
Yes. Yeah. So all of which to say is, and I bring up good things because not a lot of people bring up good things, right? But the truth of the matter is, we all have this finite lifetime of meeting and talking to each other. And we only talk to each other a handful of times in this life. So treating them like they're gold is a great thing, because honestly, if we did that, we treat each other better. Like, can you imagine this? Like, you only are going to be around someone one time, okay, or 2 times or 3 times, and you know this deep down in your head. Wouldn't it motivate you to treat them the best you possibly could?
Mm-hmm.
Because you only got this time to do whatever it is you're supposed to do with that person, and then they will move on to whatever's next for them, and you will move on to whatever's next for you. That's it. One time, done. Right? So you treat everything like it's the last time, or it's going to be one of the few times. Now maybe you get many opportunities to be with somebody, and that's a great thing. But if you treat it like that, you treat everything with a lot more respect, because you recognize that you're only here so many times. You're only going to do this once or twice or 3 times. So I've learned that you try not to take these things for granted, because shit, you never know, right? So I'm gonna try to make the best impression I can with you, because 1, you're awesome, and 2, more importantly, this is my chance to make that good impression. I better take it now, or I may never get another chance.
Yeah. And it's those moments where, you talk about the drawing and the things you're doing, and you think about the fact that, there was a time where you didn't know any of the people that you know now. And so then for them to say, well, hey, get involved in this thing we're doing.
Yep.
You're just like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
But you just never know.
Exactly. So you make the most of everybody. So now you told your story, and you're really happy with the story you told, and you've been telling them ever since, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we mentioned this last time. Sounds to me, my friend, in the last little bit, you have you've learned to recognize a little bit more just how capable you really are. Is that accurate?
Yes, definitely. My pastor and I had a real good talk a few weeks ago, because with my new job, there were just a lot of issues that I was having, and I was just struggling. And one of the things he told me was, he sat me down and he broke down kind of what I've been through over the last couple of years. He said, you had these people tell you couldn't do this, and you did it. You had these people that told you that you couldn't do this, and then you did it. You had these people that told you couldn't do this, or this, and you're doing all those things, right? Right. When do you get to doubt what God's put in you? Because a lot of people around you have doubted you, but you did the work. You showed up. You listened. You incorporated things you've been taught, and now you're at a place now that you wanted to be in for a long time. So don't doubt yourself now. Just keep doing the things that you need to do. Keep doing the thing. Keep doing the due diligence. Keep listening. Keep asking questions. Keep learning. Don't shut yourself down from learning. Don't feel like you've got it all, because trust me, just based on the conversation we've had, Yeah, obviously they haven't, because now you're stepping into a whole new realm of stuff you're not as comfortable with. Here's the thing: you've been doing that a lot.
Yeah.
When you were at this level, you weren't comfortable there either. It took a while to get comfortable in it. So there's no such thing as there for you.
Oh, absolutely not.
So you're always going to be going from level to level. Whether that be physically, from a job standpoint, spiritually, from dealing with different issues in your life, whatever issues you're having, you're always going to be going from here to here.
Well, so I'm currently doing a temp job, and I'm treating it like a temp job. Not it's a job of a company. I know my time's very limited there, because so here's the thing: I've had to learn, and this last year, no, the word no. It's a very, very powerful word.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all need to use it a little bit more, right? Not because there comes a point in our lives, all our lives, where we recognize that we're more than what we were when we began. And sometimes, and this is something I've come to realize with myself, is we settle for things that we are comfortable doing. And we have to, at some point, say that's no longer good enough on any level. And so this current thing is helping me get some money raised up short term. But I know that I have a shelf life. I'm trying to make it last only for a short time. When it's over, and it will be over sooner than later, I'm going to the next thing. So I said I'm actually applying for stuff like I just applied for an announcement job because I think I'd be a good announcer. I think I have the chops to do it. Right? Why not me?
Right.
Right? Somebody goes, well, why me? It's like, no, why not you? And that's a very important lesson. I think all of us need to remember is there comes a point where it's like, why you? Why not you? Because you have to believe at some point God can lead you to the promised land. But it's up to you to take it. Because if you don't, sooner or later, you're going to lose it. And the one thing I don't want to do in my life is go, what if? My life is all about, let's find out. Let's see where it goes.
Right.
Right? And I'm trying to make a living doing the podcast thing because I think I'm great at it. And the one thing about streaming I've learned is it's about being diligent and excellent at one thing and just be good enough at one thing, believe in yourself in that one thing. But it's all the skills I've acquired doing this. Like we are talking in front of at this point a very small but live audience nonetheless.
Right.
Right. We are talking to a very small group of people that are listening and paying attention to us. Others of us are, but I've been doing this day in and day out, and I've been very proud of the work I've done and people I've talked to and the interviews I've achieved, that I have a very, very interesting portfolio. Mm-hmm. Which, going back to the announcing job, I know this is why I can do it, because I've talked to people like you. I've talked to people like, Mark Park. I've talked to people like Elsa Garza. I've talked to people like Hank Ryan Philippa, like just different award-winning, talented people. Right? So that's where I should be. So therefore, everything else, everything else is what I need to say no to, because I'd rather be excellent at this one thing than doing something I just cannot stand.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes perfect sense. I mean, that's a reality to it. I mean, somebody asked me one day, they said, when we were talking about, as far as talking about the job goes, they were like, well, man, it doesn't make sense. You went here, you went here, you went here. You're doing this. You're doing a corporate thing, but then you draw and you do all this stuff. And it's just like, why don't you just do that as a living? I was like, well, because there's some stuff I'm working on that I've got to get to first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if and when God opens the door, my job is to prepare in the meantime, because I don't want to see the door open and not be ready to step through it.
Yes.
So there are certain things I'm doing and putting ahead of myself so that way when that time comes, I've got a body of work that I can say, here, this is what I've done. This is why I've done what I'm doing. This is why you should bring me on board for whatever it is. You know.
Yeah. I do hope at some point in the future, maybe it won't be anytime soon, but somewhere in the future, maybe get the opportunity to work with you, my friend, because I think you'd be a very fun person to create with.
Wouldn't be a problem at all. I would definitely enjoy it. So I finished up a lot of my shading work on Mike. That's The Last Ronin.
Let's take a look at what you've done here. Love it. So I'm trying number 3 here. I'm still working. Mortal Kombat requires a lot more detail, so I'm not done this at all. But I'm learning. Like I said, I feel like every time I do it, I learn something.
Mm-hmm. Notice we've said Mortal Kombat multiple times, and we've said it like calm, average, everyday people.
Yes, I know.
Most of the time, whenever you hear somebody say Mortal Kombat, it's always like Mortal Kombat. It's always the yelling, the Mortal Kombat thing.
That's because of the music. Like the
theme song for the first movie.
Oh, the music's amazing. Like it's a great way to get into the groove too. Oh, like I test your might, and all of a sudden you just hear that music, like the drums and you hear it. And then all of a sudden, then you hear the riff, and then also you hear the main riff going. Then you hear the names Kano, Liu Kang, Raiden. Yeah, and everybody knows this, right? It's the classic one. Yeah, that's right. That's totally it, man. That's totally it. Oh man, I really had a blast with you, my friend. This is what Drink and Draw is like. So this has been the cool thing about doing this podcast now in this format is I get this opportunity with incredibly talented people like yourself to just be creative. Just like this was even more relaxed, I think, than our last interview was.
Mm-hmm.
But well, I'm still the pretty one, right? I'm still the pretty one.
Hey, I'm not gonna argue with you. I will be the big brooding guy, and I'm fine with that.
You know, I almost can't believe you as a brooder. I almost can't. Like I get this sense with you. I always get this sense with you that you are a man that enjoys laughter, and you are a man that enjoys being joyful and wonder. There's still a lot of them, and I say this in the most complimentary way. There's a lot of childlike qualities with you, and I feel like honestly, I'm not saying you can't be a deep thinker. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying with you, my friend, is I think given the choice between laughing about life and brooding about it, you're the type that would rather laugh. And I may be wrong on that, but
I think I might have used the wrong word. What I probably meant was brute, like more like Andre the Giant Brute Squad in Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So more brute, not brood. I see where that would throw people into a different space.
Yeah. So. Yeah, because you don't seem like I get the impression I'm going to meet you at a convention somewhere in some time. We're both going to be like huge rock stars by that point in time, or at least we're both in our journey and doing well. And I get the feeling that you and me are just we're going to goof off and we're going to have fun, just whatever it is. You know, maybe I just sit there and actually, it'd be really cool if we were beside each other for like a whole convention. I mean, you'd have to put up with my big mouth for a whole week, and I don't know if you could actually do it. But if you could, we'd have a lot of fun.
Oh, trust me, there's a lot of prayer that goes into me not just going for like 5 hours, because I've had to learn a lot about landing planes when I needed to from a verbal perspective.
Yeah. Well, you're getting more confident, and that's good. I think that is going to serve you very well. You're a very talented dude. Like your work speaks for itself. It really, really does. And I think inevitably, good things are going to come your way. I really believe that. So my best to you, my friend, and thank you very much for doing this. I think we should probably wrap this on a good note. So why don't you talk about your stories, what's coming up for you, your podcast, why it's awesome, and I will wrap the show up.
Okay. So writings and stuff. My writings are currently available on Amazon, www.amazon.com/author/WilliamKHolland. You can get everything from obviously Santa's a Spy to Your Life Matters and Captain Fucking Fast tries to take over the world. You can get the Inviso Kid, the Monster Squad, little guide that I put together. Put that together recently. Basically, it's my tribute to the old school classic monsters with some interesting twists and turns in it. So, podcast is conversations about ... We talk everything from geeky to writing to creating. We had an early episode where I talked to a guy who worked for SNL for 20 something years, and it was the most heartbreaking interview because I couldn't. Like, you worked for SNL for 25 years, and you have no real stories about SNL working for 25 years. Like, it was like pulling teeth. I was just like,
Yeah.
hey, who was your favorite person to work with? Oh, I just was in the writer's room. You had to, in 25 years, you had to meet awesome people.
At that point, I'd be looking at it, it's like, what are you nervous about, man? I mean, you gotta be like, there's always stories, right?
Yeah.
So I've had what I would call 3 really bad interviews. One of them, it was just her nature. Like she when the camera was off, great human being, camera was on, or the recording was on. She just had a certain persona, and it's one of the few things where my interview style just does not work very well with. And it just, so that one's on me. I had another one that was just terrible. Just couldn't get anything worthwhile. I'll never advertise that interview. You can find it on my YouTube channel if you want to find it, but I'm not gonna go advertise it.
That's fine.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where like bad interviews happen. Some people just climb up, and I've learned like the trick. I did an interview not too long ago. I'm doing a drink and draw with him this week actually. He was really nervous for like I threw a couple different things at him, tried to get him to talk, and he was just agreeing with it. It's like, hey, okay, dude, you can't be this nervous. Like honestly, you just can't be this nervous. Don't worry about it. Just be yourself and let good things happen, and right, and good things will happen. And that was it, right? So that was the thing. It was so. I mean, that happened. But the best interviews are just people just chatting and just being themselves. Like you were, me were tonight, man. We got to goof off and hang out. Kind of want to do this in person with you at some point, maybe over a cherry coke or something like that, and draw in person. So. He'd be a good dude. I think
that would be incredible. Just because that means we've done what we needed to do to deal with the stuff we needed to deal with as a whole country. So that way we can get back to moving around and doing the things we want to do and be able to work from place to place. And I'm going to end it with this. Now, in our last interview, you started with this. I'm going to end it with this. You asked a question. You said if there was anything incriminating about you that you would be willing to share.
Yes.
Here it is. I will mishear lyrics to a song for weeks and think it's one thing until I see a lyrics video or until somebody sings the song and I hear them say it clearly. Okay? For like, I think it was like a month almost. There was a song that's popping on TikTok and stuff, and it's called Rolly. And this guy's, somebody on a rolly. And I honestly thought he was saying, I want a rolly with a pair of hammer pants. And instead, the actual line, which to me is dumber, is I just want a roly with a dab of ranch. I'm like, but I mean, I'm guessing you're saying you want a Rolex with a diamond in it, but I'm pretty sure there are more creative ways to say I want a Rolex with a diamond in it than a dab of ranch. Because that makes you feel like you're just going to dip your watch in a ranch bowl and try to eat the thing.
You know what? In this life, I don't judge anymore. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Look, I'm just saying. I mean, for a long time, I heard Hendrix. You know, the infamous song, "Excuse Me While I Kiss the Sky." Yeah. And for the longest time, I didn't know exactly what the lyrics were, but I never heard "Kiss the Sky" until I was in a place. I was doing mission work in Florida, and I heard the song over a loudspeaker, and I was like, "So that's what he said." I just wondered what it was. Like, I just didn't know. There's a line in Good Times that people will argue to this day. And it's near the end of the theme song. And the actual line is, hanging at a chow line, good times. Ain't we lucky we got them? Good times. But for the longest time as a kid, I just thought somebody was scatting. And I was just like, good times. Hey, we look at me, God. You know, I just didn't know. So, yeah, I will mishear songs. And if you don't ever tell me in my head, I will always think it's something different until somebody tells me what the actual lyrics are. That's what
I used to do it too, my friend. I used to do it too. All right. How can people find you? Like in terms of your website and social, and then I'll wrap her up.
So WilliamKHolland 9973 on Instagram and on Twitter, although I'm not on Twitter as much. I'm trying to get on Twitter more. I eventually want to do a Kickstarter at some point this year. And so I've been told I need to get on Twitter more often. So I hope I don't get eaten alive and or canceled beforehand. I really don't care if Twitter comes after me to cancel me. I've got more value in myself than what Twitter can handle. I just don't like the idea if I'm trying to promote a product, I'm sitting there and people are like, oh, no. I don't really care. Anyway, so yeah, WilliamKHolland 9973 at Twitter, Instagram. You see the link in the YouTube channel. Come find me there. I just did a group of trades that I got in 2020. I'm going to be drawing on there again in the near future. I don't know when, but I'm working to get back into that groove. And then Amazon, you can look up Amazon, look up WilliamKHolland on Amazon, look up Pencil Ninja. You're probably going to find my work a lot faster if you just look up Pencil Ninja in the search.
All right. So I'm going to wrap this bad boy up now as well, as we are coming to the end of this. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my YouTube channel. You can click on it and follow me. You can follow my Twitch stream at Just Josh and Podcast. My books are available on Amazon. Links are always in my episode descriptions on my audio, which is which is on Podomatic or anywhere you can subscribe it. Stay inspired. Keep doing your thing. Keep shining in the dark. Tomorrow is another makeup day. JD Estrada is going to join the show. We're going to have a good time. Until then, guys, good night. Stay inspired. And I'll see you tomorrow.